I would like to call the October 20th, 2021 Board of Education meeting to order. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, you have the agenda before you, and I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda presented before us with the addition of walk-on resolutions 8D and 9D. May I have a motion?
So moved.
And?
Second.
Who- no. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries. We have the minutes of the October 6th, 2021 Board of Education meeting. Those are presented for approval. May I have a motion to accept these minutes?
So moved, Bernice.
Bernice, second.
Second, Jamaica.
Jamaica, thank you. Any corrections or discussion or additions? Hearing none, all those in favor of the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries. At this point, we have privilege of the floor and the sign-in sheet. Martha, is that one comment, the one for later?
Whenever, either now or after.
The one for champions?
No, I have a public comment.
Oh, okay. Well, then why don't you go ahead and read the one you
right.
have?
This is from Holly Loth, who has a child at Howe Elementary and a child at Central Park Middle School. Our district staff and students are meant to be protected from COVID transmission by layers of mitigation strategies, but all the alleged layers are either absent or inadequate, and therefore our community is at significant risk. Pool testing. It's on the plan, but it isn't happening. Is it going to happen? If not, can we admit that this layer is fully absent? Ventilation. Very few buildings have mechanical ventilation, and of those that do, how many have been upgraded to COVID-safe standards? We are relying on individual teachers to choose to open windows, and it's getting cold. Ventilation is on the district plan as a layer of protection, but how protected will the people in our buildings be when teachers start choosing warmth over safety? Why was upgrading HVAC systems district-wide not made a priority on the budget for spending our relief funds? Distancing. The 6-foot rule came from a time when public health experts believed COVID transmission happened via droplets, but we've known for a while now that COVID is an aerosol. Therefore, distancing is significantly less protective than ventilation and masking. The 3-foot rule is essentially pointless when people are breathing shared air over long periods of time. Lunch is wildly unsafe. Masking. Masking rules vary so much from building to building and depend so thoroughly on individual teachers and administrators interpreting the mandate that it's safe to say we do not actually have a district-wide mask mandate. At Howe Elementary, teachers have a zone around their desks taped off where they are 6 feet away from the closest student desk, and when they are within this taped off area, they unmask for long stretches of time. This is insanely unsafe. For masking to be an effective layer of protection, we must clarify with all buildings and all staff that masks are not optional. Mask breaks should cease entirely, but if that is not politically palatable, at the very least we must establish rules about how breaks are implemented so that we don't have teachers taking masks off for 30 minutes at a time and calling it a break. Leadership that prioritizes the pretense of safety rather than acknowledging the actual challenges and facing them head on is leadership steering straight into the iceberg. Board members, thank you for your service. Teachers, staff, and students, thank you from the bottom of my heart for showing up through this crisis and doing your best.
Thank you. Did you say you had a second one?
No.
Okay. Then I have signed up first Monique Wade. Hi, Monique.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
We need you to
Nervous.
speak
Extremely
loudly.
nervous, excuse me, it's the first time I'm doing this, but don't even know if this is allowed, but I'm going to try anyways. My name is Monique Wade, I'm a resident of Schenectady, I'm also an employee contracted to the school district via Mediation Matters. We provide restorative practices, conflict resolution, and the like to the students in Mount Pleasant Middle School, Central Park Middle School, and Schenectady High School. We have embedded staff in those buildings, and I bring all of that up to say, based on the things that we have been seeing in the media, the news articles, the videos that are being posted about our students, I want you all to know as board members you have support. We're in the buildings, we're with the students, we're on the feet to the ground with them. We recognize the things that are happening, and we are 100% doing our best. Some of my colleagues are here. We talk to these students every single day. We meet with who we can meet with. We put out the fires that we can put out. And again, just so you know, we are doing our best. On top of that, the last article that I think I read that was put out was asking for parents to, don't quote me, but do their part and talking to their students about the violence. We're trying to do that as well. This is the flyer that was sent out. It was part of the superintendent's brief for last week about Parents University, and this is for the parents as well. We are trying to do our part. I'm a part of the people that will be speaking along with Dr. Cotto. We're here with you. We got you. We got these kids, and we can only do our best, like we said, Schenectady strong. One of the things I've been priding myself as this school year started is I'm gonna show up. I'm gonna show up, I'm gonna speak out, I'm gonna be there for these kids, I'm gonna be there for the faculty and the community as well. And I just want you to know that we have your back.
Thank you, Monique. Thank you. Next person I have is Yalima Ryu. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. Did I come anywhere close? It's Yolanda. Oh, Yolanda, sorry. And is it R-I-U on the last name?
R-E-I-D.
I'm sorry?
R-E-I-D.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Go
Hello,
ahead.
my name is Joanna Reed. I am a junior in Schenectady High School. As a student of Schenectady High School, me and my classmates have some concerns regarding to the abrupt changes in school. The protest that was held on Monday was only a fraction of what we had to say. As not only a school but a community, we should have somewhat of a say in the changes that goes on in the school. One being schedules. We see that it is unfair that the student board gets to make big, abrupt changes last minute without consulting students and teachers. Another major concern is also the upkeep of the high school. You guys cannot lock certain bathrooms around the high school where most of the toilets in those bathrooms are broken. You could also not make the classes longer where people in that class could possibly have COVID instead of making just the classes longer. Also, I feel like we should have a stronger foundation between students, that also being making a stronger student council. I only know one person that's a student president of a certain class, which I feel like it makes our community and our students more distant with each other, because even COVID already made that worse. And I feel like we just need a stronger foundation. And even when we do make that stronger foundation, we can also have better communication with students between classes and even with the student board, and make decisions that like all the students will love and also all the board would love. And I feel like being in high school, these 4 years are very precious to us. They mold us as the person that we are in the future. And I feel like if we are here unhappy for those 4 years and we don't know how to speak for ourselves, we don't know how to reach out to a bigger community, a more important, higher level, that when we get into the real world, we would not know how to make our voices heard at all. We will be quiet. We will not have a strong enough foundation as we should have in high school to speak and to make bigger decisions versus being out in the real world. And that is all.
Thank you, Yolanda, and thank you for your experience in doing this. Next person I have is Marina Chaco. Sure.
You want to have 3 copies? Okay, yeah, go ahead. Give it to me.
Thank you.
I'm going to do my best not to read off, but I did write what I wanted to say. I don't know many of you, and I doubt in that case, I'm assuming most of you don't know me. My name is Marina Chaco. I'm a full IB student at the high school, as well as president of my class, the class of 2023, and as well as I am a year-round athlete. Aside from that, I'm also the person who organized the protest that took place on Monday at 9:10 a.m. What I do know is what it feels like to have a superintendent that's present and makes their presence aware in the community. This isn't directly directed at you, but at the same time it is. I feel like we should do a better job of knowing the people that are in charge of our school. We need to make sure that in our classrooms, like, we know who's in charge of us. We may know our main administration, like the people we see in the building every day. But aside from that, we should be able to see them, everyone else that's helping us to grow and see what we're going into. We should see them aside from that. From there, the only thing I really had to go off of were facts that I was able to search up. I found out a lot about you, Superintendent Solar. You came from a school district called Batavia. As we have the poster here, we aren't Batavia. It was a predominantly white school, and you had that same 4-block schedule put in place over there. It's actually on the website of that school district. I think that coming to the school and doing the same thing, unless we have the same exact demographics, I don't see how that same schedule is there to benefit us. It said that the schedule was meant to help students and take kids out of the hallway, and I still see the same exact things. I feel like there were better ways to go about doing that. As a student that's not in the hallway, I don't see how this really helped me at all. As it was said to help me, I don't think that 90 minutes classes are really, I feel like it's just making kids tired. Kids already have stuff outside of the school that they have to go through, and this isn't really helping, as it just adds to the stress. Another thing is, what I handed out was a petition. Actually, 1,056 people were able to sign it.
We can't look at that. We have to hear what they're saying, see through what they're saying, right? So I'm just asking you, like, I'm with Monique. I'm here. I show up, whether it be in the community, in the school, whatever, my youth group, it doesn't matter. I'm going to show up, but there's a real issue with them not having input in something that's going to impact their everyday life. So we see policies and we see statistics, right, that may come from other places. These are humans, and they live in Schenectady, and they're our residents, and so we have to ask them their input. I think if you would have asked them, educated them on block scheduling, and then asked them how they felt about it, they might have actually liked it. But because you just told them this is what we're going to do, they're revolting. I know, because I'm them. I was them, I'm them. So that's all I wanted to say tonight. I will be with you guys often. I hope that you hear what I'm saying to you, but seriously, even with the police in the building, I heard, what's going on? Why are the police here? There's a franticness. I don't know if they want them there or not, but when they see police, they're alarmed. So if you're going to have police in the building, which I highly suggest you don't, You have to communicate with the students who are going to be impacted on a day-to-day basis by these decisions that we're making. So that's all. I hope you guys have a good night.
Thank you, Jarian. Ray Frazier? Do you say Ray A or
Ray. Ray is perfect.
straight Ray? Okay. There was a
Straight
little,
Ray.
little sign right across the top of the E.
That's just a little flair, you know, a
A
little
little
smile
flair.
to the sun, you know what I mean?
Just wondered.
How's everybody doing? Y'all not allowed to talk back, I'm just sorry. It's just, you know, we in person, you know, we're not in person so much, so I just have to ask. I'm Ray Frazier. I was an educator in the district for about 4 years at Washington Urban with my boy Green Bean. Shout out to Green Bean in the building. Great guy. And then I transitioned to a specialist position for the diversion program, which is no longer, I hear is no longer going, which is super sad. Currently, I am a full-time creative. I specialize in mural installation as well as custom apparel. I recently did a 50-foot mural in Hamilton Hill on the new Hillside Project. Yeah, clap it up for that. Did y'all see it? Y'all saw it? If you didn't see it, ride fast. It's right across from Newest Lunch. It's the second biggest mural in the 518, so super proud of that. So yeah, that's not why I'm here though. Oh, I also just did a mural at the YWCA, and they're having an event tomorrow for victims of domestic violence at 5:30. If you're not doing nothing, definitely make it down to that, the YWCA. And currently, I'm the JV girls basketball coach, which is why I'm here. So last week in intramurals, I learned that it is mandatory for winter athletes to get vaccinated. And a few of our athletes came up and already said, I'm not going to be able to play because my parents are not going to allow us to get the vaccination. So I was surprised, especially with some of the board members. I know some of you guys personally, so I was surprised to hear that the vote was passed to force students to get the vaccination. Now keep in mind, I understand that you guys have a very difficult job and safety is at the forefront in the decision, I get it. But anytime we use force, rebellion is birthed every single time, no matter what it is, all right? Safety is at the forefront for me too. I want to keep our babies safe as well. But forcing them to inject anything into their bodies without parent consent and student consent is not the answer at all. Historically, Black and brown people have been used as guinea pigs for vaccinations and medicinal uses, which has caused a mistrust between providing health and the Black and brown community. So that is going to create more negative press for our Black and brown students, which I'm sure we don't want, right? And sorry, I'm just looking at my notes. You know, I was going to come here at the next board meeting, but our season starts on November 15th. So I felt like it was super pertinent for me to come here today and express this concern. The rest of the coaching staff was going to be here with me tonight, but it's also the suburban council meeting, so they had to be there. So I agreed to speak on our behalf. So a couple points I want to make is that this is not going to be a regional decision, which means that we will undoubtedly play other teams who will be unvaccinated. So I don't understand what's the difference between having some players who are vaccinated versus some players who don't decide to get the vaccination on our squad if we're going to be playing teams who are not unvaccinated. It's like, you know, where do we meet, right? Also, without parent consent or discussing it at least with the leaders of the basketball program, that needs to be a thing, you know? Like, again, I understand that you guys are in a very tough position and you're trying to do what's right for our kids, but anytime we're forcing and mandating things, we're gonna be met with rebellion every single time. And I just think about my younger self, and basketball saved my life, for sure, for sure. And I just worry about our babies who are not gonna be able to play because, you know, their families don't agree with the vaccination. Where does that leave them, right? I already have 7 girls who are involved in some beefs at the school who they know how I am. I'm definitely Pro, go to class. Pro, stay out the hallways. Pro, do what you need to do, or you are not playing for me, period. So they understand that. But without basketball as a big protective factor for them, it's going to leave them, you know, I don't know where it's going to leave them. You know, it's a scary thought if I'm being honest. I know I'm winding down on the time. I'm hurrying up, y'all. I'm hurrying up. Basically, just understanding that the force is not the answer. And I understand that not all staff are mandated to get the vaccination either. So if not all staff are mandated, and I understand that you guys are administering frequent tests, why can't that be trickled down to our students, right? That doesn't make any sense. Why are we forcing our students to do this thing when it's not a thing that's happening throughout our district with our students and our staff? It seems super duper inequitable. It doesn't seem like it's any kind of equality at all. You know, we're taking advantage of our students being students versus our staff. Our students need to have a say. So forcing them to get the vaccination, again, I'm pro-health, all right? I totally am. I think we can force other things like hand washing, cleanliness, masks, things like that. We can stay on top of that. But forcing them to get the vaccination is not the answer. And I really, really hope that some kind of redaction can be made or some kind of conversation around this can be had. I don't know typically how you guys go how you guys go about revisiting policies once you already voted on something, but I really, really hope that you guys reconsider, and I really look forward to hearing more about it. So thanks for letting me have the mic.
Thank you, Ray.
All right.
With the flair. Thank you. I said with the flair on your name. Trey Tillman?
Good
Hi,
evening.
Trey. If you want to lift
You
the...
can either take it off, Trey, if it's easier, or you can lift it up, however you want to do it. There you go.
Is that better?
Better.
Good evening. My name is Trey Donovan Tillman. I'm a 12th grader at Schenectady High, and I feel like that I've been here for 4 years now, right? And I feel like there's been definitely after the COVID and everything like that, there's been a drastic change in our community and in our in our students. And I feel like that this 90 minutes thing that's going on, the block schedule, is not helping at all. I feel like containing students and forcing them to be in a situation where they don't feel comfortable in is not helping at all. I feel like that it's not helping the students that don't go to class, because what happens to them? They get suspended, and then after they get suspended, what do? How can they make up the work? How can they be helped during the time of suspension? I feel like that if we, because I've never seen any of you before, never, in my whole entire life, never. I've seen you once in the hallway, but I have never seen any of you at all. And I feel like communication and people involving themselves in the students' lives helps a lot more, because it shows the students that you care about them, you know? Because and look at the 10th and 11th graders. They're freshmen, let's be honest, because they were in 7th grade and then they were in 8th, and that's a huge change in itself. And them coming here to the high school with a lot of freedom and a lot of distractions and a lot of fights, and they're all together and they're all in this huge space. Yes, they're going to act up. Yes, a lot of stuff is going to happen. But how, as we, and even the seniors, as all of you and all of the administrators, how are we going to help them get to where they need to get, in my opinion? And I think that's all I have to say. I didn't write down anything, so.
Thank you, Trey.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is that good?
Thank you. Next person is Christine Moore.
Second today.
I'm mixing it up.
She is mixing it up. So my comment, I only have one, is that last year, as many folks in the community may recall, we lost an alumni of Schenectady High School, and my girls both graduated with Naylon, Carrington. We tragically lost him in an automobile accident last year, but there was an article in the Times-Union that noted that with the efforts of Sandra Banks, Naylon's mother, in addition to our own Damani Farley, Councilwoman Marion Porterfield, and the Mayor of Schenectady, that the city does plan to name the Central Park basketball courts after Naylon in honor of him. He was just a very powerfully positive young man, and I'm so proud that his memory will live on and that he is being celebrated. So,
Thank you, Nolan. Bernice,
She's really thrown us all off tonight.
you'll never know.
Good evening, everyone. I do want to start by thanking everyone who was at the mic and was sharing their concerns, their challenges, and also their voice, especially our students. That's part of educating, right? We want to make sure that we have and we develop and we mold students that can use their voices and share their concerns in a platform, especially at the board meeting. Many many students, and this is not just Schenectady, don't know the power of coming to board meetings. So and we've said it quite a bit throughout the years, we encourage and we welcome students to come. It is really important for all of us to hear your voices on a consistent basis. So thank you. I do want to say that. Thank you very much. And to everyone else who also voiced their opinion, thank you. I do want to reiterate one of the events that Rachel Frazier had mentioned, the YMCA tomorrow, Take Back the Night. And I know that there are two conflicting events because I know that there's the event at Yates Village, so you can kind of hop to both. But
YWCA.
Or YW, thank you, YWCA.
As a member of their board, I am obliged to say W.
I do want to mention that it's still, even though Hispanic Heritage Month technically was over on October 15th, as we know with all cultural events, it's throughout the year, right? So I do want to mention that there is an event at SUNY Albany, and I believe, let's see, it's on October 27th, and it's UAlbany celebrates Hispanic or Latinx or Latino Heritage Month, Wednesday, October 27th at 7, and it's at the Campus Center, West Auditorium, Uptown Campus, and it's called Can't Stop Our Blackness, Black Latina X Narrative and Resistant Erasure, presented by Rosa Clemente. So that's October 27th at SUNY Albany. I also want to mention, last Friday I attended the Schenectady Colony swim team meet. It was amazing. It was really good. It was here at Schenectady High School. There were a lot of different competitions. The one that really stuck out to me was the diving competition. I squirmed a few times because I thought, they got very close to the diving board, but it was amazing. And I did see staff members there. Mr. Chank was there, and I believe 2 other principals from the high school were also in attendance. It was really exciting. What I really loved is how supportive our swimmers were to each other. I mean, it was very competitive. They were going against Mahonison. And there were times where, some of the teammates were the last to do the lap. And you see all of our Schenectady and Colony students, come on, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. It was amazing. It was just, and I see, it was amazing to see how supportive and how much strength by supporting other students, our students gave to others. It was very great. It was great to see. And by the way, we won. The other thing I did want to mention is that the sectionals are in 2 weeks, right? I also attended, and so did some of the people here in the room, Dr. Cotto, Principal Verrett, Principal Howard, and Mr. Solar. We went to the Bethlehem football game, and that was great because we won.
Yeah. I saw that.
Yes, and the score was 36-13.
It's because I couldn't be there.
Oh, and
when I met them, they don't win.
Oh, I couldn't speak the next day because I was screaming so hard at that football game. But once again, it was great to see the energy that our students gave. There were parents that were there. There were also other students that supported. It wasn't a large group of Schenectady folks, but we still were very loud and we were very supportive, and it was a great game, and that was in Bethlehem. Then I also, let's see, I do want to mention that this weekend, I believe is this Saturday, is homecoming. So homecoming here at Schenectady at 10:30, I believe.
Friday.
This Friday, okay, Friday at 10:30.
Not at 10:30.
Not 10:30 in the morning? No, it's at night, 6 o'clock, thank you. What am I thinking? Okay, thank
6
you.
p.m.
6 p.m., okay, on Friday. So please, attend and show your support. And again, I do want to reiterate a little bit of what Erica and Mr. Soler had mentioned. We are very, we know it's tough times, and we know how much everyone, students, parents, and staff are really, and community members, are doing to make the situation and the circumstances much better for our students. It is hard. It is really hard. And then we are very much aware of that. I know you may not see it every day when we talk about it because not everyone comes to the board meetings every single month, but we do really care about all of you. Our students is our primary responsibility. So I just want to make sure that I do share that. But thank you. And thank you for being here tonight.
Jamaica.
Hey, good evening, y'all. The first thing I try to always remember to say, which Bernice has already talked about, is thank you to everyone who spoke. The part that I always lift up is that no matter how many times you speak in front of public, it is not easy. And so the bravery it takes for an individual to stand up and speak and have their voice heard is much appreciated. And because it is so important for us to hear the voices of individuals so that we are knowledgeable in the decisions that we make when we have to make those decisions. So thank you for everyone that spoke. This last week, I was doing some school board training, getting me all trained up in my board training. Erica was there too. On Friday, there was the naming of the Sikkim Food Pantry in honor of Phil Grigsby, who has been doing amazing work in this community for decades, and not just with food insecurity, but also fought for our public school funding. So really glad to be able to be there, and I know Kathy was there with me for that. This past Sunday was a community conversation. Typically, the Sunday before every board meeting, there is a community conversation where parents, students, teachers, staff, and community members are invited. There are teachers and parents all of the time, and I was really excited that that happened again, that there were both parents and teachers and administrators on a call. It was on Zoom to talk about what are their questions, comments, concerns, and ideas. And those notes are shared publicly so that people can know what was that conversation about. Then on Monday, I actually was here and witnessed the walkout that was organized by the students, where they did 2 laps around the building. They had to speak out, and it was powerful and amazing to hear their voices and to see how organized they were with what they were doing, as well as how supported they were with the staff that were present outside. So it's not as if the students were just outside the building by themselves, but to see the staff there, but really to hear the student voices, to hear exactly what they had to say, and what their thoughts were and what their demands were and who it was that they wanted to speak to, which we saw again tonight because they showed up. It was really, really wonderful and really powerful, and I'm glad that I had the opportunity to be there because it is our due diligence to listen to all voices, including our students, and to be present. And many of us go to different buildings all of the time and have that experience. So I was glad to be able to be here for that one. Oh, I forgot this, super important. On October 14th was the NYSER settlement. Everyone should be clapping right now, $4.2 billion. Yes, clapping. The NYSER settlement.
NYSER settlement. Gotcha. I
So,
know.
for those that don't remember, I happen to be a plaintiff in the NYSER case to say that New York State needs to fully fund our schools. And we had a settlement where both Kathy Hochul and the court said, yes, you're going to get the money. It will be phased in over the next 3 years.
We don't get the whole 4.2 billion, though.
Right, the whole 4.2 billion is for the entire state.
Exactly.
That's the entire state. But the NYSER case was specifically Schenectady School District in New York City. Those were the districts that were a part of the case, and we worked really hard over the last 7 years. It was 7 years that we worked on that case. So let's remember that when you're fighting for something, it might not always happen immediately, but the point is to keep fighting. And I was really glad that that settlement happened, and super appreciative because the attorneys worked pro bono to ensure that we were able to get that funding. And they're a great team. Special shout out to Jowdy, and he's really going to enjoy that I said that. As was mentioned, there's going to be the renaming of the Central Park basketball courts for Naylon, Carrington. I went to school with his mom, Sandra, and me and Damani and others. Again, it was a community event to ensure that this happened, to lift up the name of this young person whose life was cut far too short, and to support his mom in a way that allows his legacy to live on. And there's also going to be a balloon release marking the 1-year anniversary this Saturday at 4 o'clock here at Schenectady High School. Be prompt and be on time because Sandra don't play. It's going to happen. It's going to be on time.
So the renaming is at the court, and then the balloon
Nope.
release is here, or
The
everything is
renaming is
here?
going to be a different day.
Okay.
This is just the balloon
Balloon release
release
is
that the
here.
mom, that Sandra has organized. The renaming, we don't have the date for that yet. I'm sure that once we
Okay.
do, we'll be able to share that out. I believe today was the last soccer game for Schenectady, right? No? But it's okay because we work really hard, and whether it's soccer or football or swimming,
They
the
got to
sentiment, listen, we work hard. The sentiment that Bernice lifted up about the way the teams are with each other. I didn't make it to a soccer game, I'm working on it. But any interaction I've seen with our students is them supporting each other, and it's a really, really beautiful thing to see. And the last thing I will mention is that while typically the community conversations are the Sunday before each board meeting, the Sunday before the next board meeting is actually Halloween, so it's not going to be on Sunday. It's going to be on Saturday, October 30th at 1 p.m. It is going to be a Zoom, and that information is shared with the public. I think that's everything.
Thank you, Jim Actor. Prinsella.
I just also like to thank all the students who spoke. It's very powerful when we hear you. Your voices are being heard, and please continue to come. So thank you. And I do want to thank all the stakeholders and everybody who participated in getting us that funding. So all the board members and everybody, thank you, and the community. We need it. We can get the learning. And then my last statement is just a little FYI. Halloween's coming. So the Hamilton Hill Art Center is going to have a little thing on Halloween all day, starting at 12 through the evening. And they're going to have jack-o'-lantern displays, and they're going to give out candy, and you can go in your costume. So show up. You'll have a good time. Thank you.
Hamilton Hill Arts Center.
Yes.
Halloween,
Yes.
October 31st.
October 31st.
Gotcha. Okay, Ann.
Okay, I think most of what I was going to say was already covered. I will just remind everyone again that coming up is the Working Group on Girls fundraiser, and I encourage everyone to support that because this is a group that does great work with our young ladies here in Schenectady. And again, I'll add my voice to thanking all our speakers and our students for coming out tonight and for always participating in that way. We always appreciate that. And then I have one more comment related to what Bernice said, is that as the parent of a former Schenectady diver, I can attest to the fact that it is very frightening to watch divers, particularly if it's your child. But I can also attest to the fact that in all the sports events I attend or have attended for many years, including ones in which my children participated, our kids always cheer on their teammates, they always cheer on their classmates, and it really is gratifying to see how encouraging and supportive they are.
Okay, I have a few things. Bernice and I were able to sit in on interviews with various architects about our building condition survey that we're required to do once every 5 years, and so that will be coming before the board in the near future. That work will probably not begin until 2022 to identify the, actually to look through every building and identify what will be part of our next capital plans. I also did the New York State School Board Association business meeting on Monday virtually, and I won't go into the details. It was an over 4-hour meeting on virtually there, but 17 resolutions were passed, and I can give you all details later. All of the recommended ones that were part of the booklet, with the exception of one, and I'll give you information about that. In place of that one of the 6, I think, that were not recommended by the Resolutions Committee was voted by the body, and we had over around 225 people voting. Those delegates represent 225 school boards in the state of New York, where we have approximately 680 school districts. I would also like to say that I have gone to the swimming and diving. I don't know if it was a diving competition, but when I've gone, it's always been in January, and the building has been nice and cozy, warm. In fact, maybe a little too warm for
That's the
that swimming
boys.
competition.
That's the boys.
Yeah, primarily swimming, and so that's always interesting to see. The working group on girls auction, that does benefit our students in the middle schools and the high school both. That fundraiser is an online auction that begins on November 1st. So appreciate it if people could check that out. And I think that's primarily what I have at the moment in addition. So we will now move on to one of the other things that Bernice and Princella and I attended, and that is the review of our independent audit for fiscal year 2021, and we have Joe Haru from our audit company Bonadio to talk to us about the results of the audit.
Good evening, everybody. I'm a principal with the Bonadio Group. Alan Walther is the partner in charge. He met with the audit committee, as Kathy said last week, went over these in detail. I'm not going to go through all 64 pages of the financial. I'm going to do a high level, just tell you about the reports. If you have any questions, though, if you've had a chance to look at them, shoot, and I'll try to answer them. If you want more time to look at them, Kathy knows how to get hold of us. If you want to email me with questions after tonight, that's fine. But Alan did meet with them. He did present drafts. These are still in draft format. We're working hard to try to get them out. We're hoping to get them out in the next few days. Having said that, so I've got a few things. You've got the audit of the school district's financial statements. Included in that packet at the back of that financial statement report is a report on internal controls and compliance. That's required by the government auditing standards. Then you should also have an audit of the extra classroom activity funds. That's 2 or 3 pages. And then there's a required communications letter that I'll just touch on real quick. So with regard to the audit, we anticipate issuing an unmodified opinion that the school district's financial statements are presented fairly in accordance with GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles. That's the highest level of assurance you can get on your financial statements. The government auditing standards report in the back, there were no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies, and nor were there any compliance findings. In the example I'll use for a compliance finding, you're well under it, is the 4% fund balance limit. You're at 2.12%, I think it is right now. So hopefully you can build that up a little bit in the next year with the federal funding that's coming through, and maybe with some of the settlement money, hopefully. But no issues with compliance or internal controls. Extra classroom activities fund, that report is a little different than the financial statements. It's cash basis, so it's all the clubs, the cash they collect, the cash they pay out. We anticipate issuing an unmodified opinion on those financial statements also. In there, I guess their cash and fund balance is about $103,000. And then the required communications letter, that's, as it states, it's required. what we have to communicate in there is if there's new accounting principles. This year there was GASB 84, it's called. It's issued by the Government Accounting Standards Board. It essentially got rid of your, if you're familiar with financial statements, your trust and agency fund, kind of move things out, move things in. That's new this year. There's a long footnote in the back of the financial statements that kind of describes what happened with that stuff. Then we talk about estimates, if we had any difficulties in the audit, difficulties with management, any kind of issues, and there were none at all. So that's it.
Any questions for Joe or Princella or
I know there's a lot of
Bernice
stuff
or
in there,
myself?
so like I said, if you have a chance to look it over, you know, if you want to fall
I
asleep, tonight, if
believe-
you have insomnia and you want to fall asleep, just read this and you can email me with questions.
I believe Joe's hit the high points, that we had no material weaknesses in the government accounting. It's unmodified opinions, known in the accounting world some years back as a clean opinion,
Yeah.
meaning that there were no significant findings there. Our surplus is at 2.1%, and it needs to be by state law under 4%, so we're in compliance with that. And there were no difficulties with the audit. We have a top-notch financial staff who were very responsive and...
Yeah, I should definitely thank Steve and Katie and everybody in the business office.
We thank
and
them.
everybody else throughout the district. It's not just them, you know, the club, the extra classroom clubs, everybody helped us to get where we are today, so.
We thank them for that work. So if there are no questions, I believe we have a resolution about this later on, so we'll take it at that point. And we thank you, Joe, for coming this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We're now on to something that is a very favorite thing of mine to do, and this is part of what I get to do as the Area 7 Director for New York State School Board Association, which means that I represent not just the Schenectady City School District, but 63, or maybe it's 58, I lose track, 58 other school districts and BOCES throughout the capital region, from Columbia County north to Warrensburg, west to Scotia Glenville, and east, of course, to the Vermont border. And from time to time, the New York State School Boards Association has nothing to do with me, recognizes creative programs within the member school districts with the Champion of Change honor and banner to display. We are fortunate to have 2 such banners to present tonight to programs identified by NYSBA from within our district. And as I said, this is an independent determination made by them. So the first one tonight is this. Champion of Change banner. Oh, away from the microphone here. Maybe I need to go out front. Champion of Change banner for Liberation, the video game. This is the brainchild of Victoria Candida, one of our high school teachers. Miss Candida, of course, was home last year in the pandemic and was interested in actually stimulating her kids. I believe she's a history teacher. She was unable to be here tonight. And so she just got involved with trying to develop a video game herself. She had not done any coding. She studied coding and taught herself how to do that and has passed that kind of information on to her kids. They're working on the liberation theme for South America, as I said, involving Simon Bolivar and several of the other liberationists of Latin America. So she was awarded, in connection with that work, a $2,500 State Farm grant. That's the second State Farm grant I've heard of in the last 2 months. And to make this video game about the Latin American Revolution. So I would like to present this to Anibal, since Ms. Candida could not be here this week. And I believe that she sent some comments, Martha?
She did, and I think Chris Jenk should get that banner.
Oh, okay, sorry, Chris. I was thinking Latin America.
Stand there so they can't take pictures.
Lovely. I suppose I should get over there.
Why don't you join him?
Actually, you said it.
Yeah.
I think you can redo the photo op.
Here's the one at the picture.
Okay, so Victoria Candida sent these remarks. Thank you so much to the New York State School Board Association for this honor, the State Farm Teacher Assist Grant for helping make this idea a reality, and to my school district for the opportunity. The idea for historical video game came to me while I was playing a game about classical Greece instead of reading a book. A book I had recently purchased on the same subject. I felt excitement and engagement for history that even I, a social studies teacher, don't often experience from simply reading. The Haitian Revolution, one of the most successful slave rebellions in history, is part of our New York State social studies framework, but is often dwarfed by the French Revolution and that revolution's plethora of educational resources. In fact, many global history textbooks spend over 50 pages glorifying systems of colonialism which enslaved Haitians, but less than a page on the revolution that challenged it. As a guardian of equity and a culturally responsive teacher, I knew this had to be the subject of my game. Although creating a game as an independent developer is a slow process, I cannot wait to share this with my students, the district, and the world very soon.
We look forward to Victoria's presenting this at our meeting, and we'll sit here and play the game the entire time. The second presentation, the second banner, recognizes the Pathway to Education Jobs Program, which was designed to help convert Schenectady City School District students, paraprofessionals, tutors, and other staff into Schenectady School District teachers. So we have a resolution recognizing the Pathway to Education Jobs Program, and we have Patrick Jean-Pierre here to accept this. This program is sometimes known as Grow Your Own program, and the article, I believe, thank you, Patrick. Do you want to say a few words?
Yeah, I'll say a few words.
Excellent, excellent.
Good evening, board. I don't miss these long nights, to tell you the truth. But I would like to thank the communities, the families, because this program could not happen without them. I'm really a small piece of this, and I'd like to really thank the students and the staff that support this Grow Your Own program. There's a lot of hardworking staff, and Soup, you'll put them in the brief, because I don't want to miss anyone, to celebrate them. So I want to thank all of those folks. Thank you.
In the article that was the basis for this recognition, Jacqueline Tayo and Terry Taylor were recognized from the Washington Irving Educational Center, and I hope that they've been able to continue their work and that we will have them as appointments as Schenectady teachers in the not-too-distant future. At this time, I would like to have a motion to approve the resolution, let me get this down, concerning the liberation of video game. I'll accept a motion recognizing the presentation and approving this resolution.
So moved, Bernice.
Second, Nolani?
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None? And that motion carries. So we accept the resolution on Victoria's behalf for the recognition of the liberation of the video game. It sounds like it'll be very interesting. And the second banner, as I said, recognized the Pathway to Education Jobs Program. And I will accept a motion to approve this resolution.
So moved.
Second, Jamaica.
Was that? That was Ann. First, I didn't catch who it was. Got some background noise here.
They're doing some machine work. They're just
Oh.
gonna close the door.
Okay. Any discussion, or we congratulate those people who are involved in the program, and at some point we might like to hear, how they're doing, how many we have people involved in it, and as I said, it's oftentimes called a Grow Your Own program. So all those in favor of this resolution, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And that motion carries. Thank you very much. Let me move my screen here. All right, the next item on our agenda is the facility usage discussion. And we have Dr. Carlos Cotto, Assistant Superintendent of Innovation, Equity, and Engagement, approaching a mic. I had a clicker to speak about this.
So good evening, Superintendent and Board. I want to thank you for this opportunity to kind of share and provide you with some information as it relates to facility usage. Also want to thank Michaela Miranda McBride and Beverly Healy for providing some of this information and doing some of this work behind the scenes. As we do this work, we ground all of this in our vision, our tagline, and our values. And the foundation of all this lies within our pillars as well. So all these things are done. As we've gathered this information, as I transitioned into this role, there was a lot of collaboration, communication with our coaches, and with some concerns as it related to our overall facility usage process. And as I go through this today, it's not something that's changing our process, but just kind of aligning how we would like to move forward in reference to supporting our students. The efforts here are really just to maximize the access to our facilities and grounds with the priority of Schenectady students and Schenectady community as a whole. The team also did a lot of research in that of neighboring districts to see what kind of processes they had within their own districts around us. Overall process, we have a master library where everything is gathered, and that's something that will remain. Both community and district staff utilize this master library. Our athletic department plays a major role in identifying the access and what's available across all of our programs. And ultimately, between the athletic director, the assistant in the athletic department, that's where all of that information is gathered, but there's an approval process to this as well. And the building principal makes that first approval. It then goes up to the athletic director, and then facilities finalizes that information and to see whether or not that part of the facility is available. Some of the things that have happened prior is that process wasn't followed. So there was some, individuals were just making decisions and approving access to facilities, not utilizing the master library, but also not utilizing that overall system. So we had some discrepancies around who was utilizing and what kind of access they were getting to those locations. As of right now, we have these 3 groups. And again, we have these 3 groups in which what we categorize and how we go about providing access. We have made some shifts to these groups, as I'll share in a little bit. But at the end of the day, again, the process is what we're trying to outline here today. Master library, this is just 2 snapshots. These next 2 slides are just snapshots of the actual process. This is on our website. The individuals both within the district as well as in the community have access to this. And basically, as individuals fill out this information, we're looking for the who, the what, the why, the where, and the how. And then also looking ultimately to see how we can standardize this moving forward. The key here, as I mentioned at the beginning, is to focus on our students and our community as a whole. So what we want to propose, or at least share with the group as we move forward, is that we'd like to standardize this where we focus first on our school-based programs, which are things that take place in all of our buildings with the leadership of our building principals. Second is to focus on our interscholastic programs. So those are the athletic programs that take place within our schools. Next layer would be looking at our coaches and their advocacy and their support to commit to our athletes outside of season so that they have access to those particular areas. Then we start hitting our community, with the focus around, the Schenectady-led youth programs. I want to share that Michaela is also looking to do a VIP this weekend, again, promoting and bringing our young athletes. Belmont program will have a VIP section for the football game, just to elevate and start to make that connection between our youth programs to build our programs as a whole. Community-led programs, and then all other programs. What we're sharing today is kind of a percentage on how we would go about the fees that are associated with utilizing our fields and our grounds and our facilities as a whole. So what we want to present is, when we have programs that are servicing 80% or more of our athletes, we would waive those fees because, again, it's impacting our students and our families within our community. For programs that are in that range around 50 to 79%, we would look to charge 50% of those fees. And then any program under 50% of the population that's not serving our population as a whole, we would look at charging them over, the 100% of the fee charges. In order to do this, the athletic department will have to review the rosters, so as programs look to utilize our facilities, we would request rosters from those programs, and we would have to, probably take a week or so just to kind of vet through the rosters and make sure that those students are students that we serve within our district and our community as a whole. And then one big thing before any of these applications are approved, they have to have a certificate of insurance in order to even start that process. We did do a little bit of research in reference to other districts, and I just share here kind of a breakdown of where we are within our overall fees. We did align these fees, so there's a shift in the fees as they're broken down based on the neighboring districts. So there is an increase in some of those, but again, that increase is impacting mainly individuals that are utilizing our facilities outside of our own, families and community as a whole. But I do have kind of that breakdown, so that gives you kind of a visual of where, how we're breaking that down in reference to that 80%, that 50%, and then those are under 50%. So I'm going to see if Chris can pop that up. So group one is basically those particular programs that are 80% or more of our own, and as you see, there's no cost for those particular groups. We would we would incur that as a district to support our students and our athletes, and also those community groups that are supporting our students as well. Group two is at 50%, and that 50% is close to 50% as you break it from group two to group three. Our ultimate goal is to continue to expand our opportunities for our students and open our buildings to provide that access, not just at our high schools and middle schools, but also our elementary schools. And we'll be working on our playgrounds and all these other particular elements. But at the end of the day, as I do the work around community school and parent centers, is we trying to elevate and really provide our buildings and our schools as hubs and beacons of hope for our students and giving them access to the opportunities that they have right within their neighborhoods. With that said, that's the end of my presentation. Any questions?
Are there any questions for Carlos?
I just have a quick one. So the application, I believe it was application, or the informational document that we reviewed a few boards ago, is that going to be updated as well?
That will stay. I think the big thing here is just the process and the approval.
Okay.
And the percentages that were shared on how we go about, going through that process.
Yeah, so actually the process online is more accurate and updated. That was an old kind of document I shared. Some of the language has changed. So the whole point, and I know sometimes people don't like online, but it is an online request form, and that is updated. It's that master library that you talk about, that Carlos talked about. So there will be no necessarily paper form. Okay. It'll be an online form. And I think the biggest thing is the fee schedule. To take away, we'll update the fee schedule online once the board has had the opportunity tonight to discuss it, so that people know the cost. But the biggest thing for us was when we heard the Schenectady Soccer Club, they would be in the 80% range. So they would be not really negatively impacted. This is really the organizations that, when they provide us a roster of participants, cannot point to children that live or go to Schenectady schools. They would have more of that fee structure that you saw that was more in alignment with neighboring districts as well. So I just kind of want to summarize it. But yeah, the paper form will kind of not exist. It'll be more of the master library system, because that allows the custodial staff to know who needs to use it for coverage. It allows, Michaela's a key gateway in that process of approval because of making sure our programs are prioritized over outside use.
Yeah. What I did hear you say, though, is that it would take at least a week. So anyone planning to use any of our facilities needs to probably leave a week to two at a minimum in order to get approval for the utilization of a particular facility.
Yes, we would put 2 weeks into that kind of process.
Right.
But a lot of it's all dependent upon how quickly they provide us the roster and then how quickly the team can assess to make sure that the students that are on that roster are students of ours in the district.
So it is public someplace that says you need to make this request a certain number of days in front of
In the form, or in the
somewhere.
Yes,
website?
we'll be working to make sure that we communicate that because I mean, as of right now, we've put a halt on the request, just given that there was a lot of different things being shared around groups. So Michaela and her team have been communicating. Mike Burry and the facilities and Brian have also been communicating with individuals that are seeking usage, just so that we can kind of be at a place where we can provide that information moving forward. We don't necessarily want to take 2 weeks, but we want to provide that window just in case, to give that leverage so that we're not, so that we have the staff that can actually pull those names and kind of identify the students.
I mean, I don't think 2 weeks is a long time to say 2
No,
weeks
I
in
think-
advance
I
just
think
for
it-
staff to know, like if they, not
Exactly.
just the process of knowing whether or not they qualify, but
And I assume that there might be some consideration for emergency situations that might develop, that sort of.
And we're going to provide deadlines also for our own programs so that we can solidify. I mean, one of those slides had the calendar so that they can solidify and we can lock in what our internal programs want so that when they do reach out, we know exactly what's available. And our programs will take priority. I mean, I think what happens, especially now as we're closing out a fall season, sectional play comes into play, which we don't necessarily know when those games are going to take place. So we're also putting that contingency in reference to approving someone from the outside, and then all of a sudden now we've got a sectional football game. We're not going to we have to accommodate our student athletes and make sure that they have access to their facilities and grounds. So we'll work through that as we close out with some of those approvals, letting those individuals know that we're going to prioritize our programs before we can, as we make those approvals.
I was interested in the fact that Bethlehem approved their turf field in a vote this week, and I believe Bethlehem has been one of the school districts that has used our field, because of theirs. Turf isn't the right word, I guess AstroTurf, I guess, is what it is that they've approved. So maybe they won't be coming over here, but I believe they have in the past.
And we do have some that have been approved prior to us coming on board.
Right.
So, we're honoring those because they were approved
Absolutely,
prior to
sure.
us. But then as we move forward, we're going to follow this process if the board is in agreement.
I guess my question on the flip side is, we talked about the 2 weeks, but how far in advance out of something are you letting outside organizations schedule? So if an outside organization is like, I want to reserve the football field in March, how far are you letting people, in advance is the system going to let people book?
Well, I think we're going to make sure that we prioritize our own first. So we're going to put a lot on our programs, our coaches, and those in our community to identify what they need. Because we want to still provide access to the outside groups, but we want to make sure that we've exhausted the access for our internal groups and our community, so that if indeed the time is not a realistic time. I think what's happened prior is we were having outside groups basically tell us when they're going to use, and we were kind of trying to figure out when we're going to use it, and these were our own fields, so it didn't make any sense. So at this point now, the ball's on our court. We're going to make that decision. We won't go as far as March, but Michaela and her team are going to make sure to provide the coaching staff, and then our youth programs that are in our community. We're going to be communicating with them throughout the course of this year to really kind of outline what this is going to look like. So Belmont football, they'll be out here on this field at some point playing their games here, because that's how we promote and get those young men and young ladies to come out this way to stay in our
I
district.
appreciate your point, Erica. If we're telling them you need to do it this far in advance of the date you're requesting, that it might be proactive to say you can only, within the next 3 months, or whatever the number is, so that people are not just making requests for 2022.
Yeah, it'll be in year. And then we'll have a red area, a time frame that's going to be contingent upon sectional play, and we'll make sure to communicate that as we approve outside.
So requesting something in 2030 is a little too early.
No, it's year to year, because we just don't know. And we're expanding programs. So, I think the ultimate goal is to make sure that our babies are on these fields and in our gyms all day, every day, especially before and after school. That's the goal.
Yeah, and I have a quick question. So the 50%, is that based off of the initial roster? So let's say, for example, I'm being a devil's advocate here, that you received a roster of 50 students at the beginning that were from Schenectady, so 25 were from Schenectady, but then students, for whatever reason, drop out of the program. And now, let's say the percentage is now less than 50%. Are we looking at the initial, and if you don't have the answer to it yet, that's okay too, but I'm wondering if we're looking at the initial roster for that 50%, because that would, I'm assuming that would be hard to monitor, continuously monitor throughout the year. So I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, so the goal is there has to be a little bit of trust here.
Yes.
I think so. I was going to say a little bit of honor.
And in this capacity, Michaela's right now at Division of 1 with a secretary supporting her. So we want to be mindful of that. So that there is a little bit of a trust factor here that says, you provide us the roster, we'll verify in our student management that those students are our kids, but then after that, we just don't have the capacity to go back and say, all right, I'm doing a roster check, give me an updated roster. And then the thing would be we'd have to change the fee structure if it was that. So there does have to be a little bit of trust. And, I'm going to tell you real quickly, Michaela, in a short amount of time, she knows kind of what to look for. She knows the ones that are maybe circling, trying to find the best price versus really servicing our children. And so, and the coaches are extremely helpful. They rat out each other. Like, So, and I mean that in the best way. That they just want to advocate for.
The best part of ratting out.
Yeah. Well, they just want to advocate for their kids and their programs. They just want access. They don't want folks that don't belong to Schenectady. And again, I mean that not that we don't want to share our resources with other folks in Schenectady County, but just the piece and the priority for us is our kids, our experiences. And again, I think maybe not significant in the eyes of others, but significant for us, because to put those, the Belmont Schenectady youth football on the turf field, the kids are going to go crazy. Like, it's a big deal for them to be on turf. Oh, this is the high school. Look at the stadium. That's going to be a big deal for them. And then we're creating like a VIP section. So not only the facilities, but really trying to honor youth programming that currently exists and elevate it where possible is going to be a real big deal.
Excellent. Any further questions for Carla?
The prices are pretty fair. I think you guys did a good job of that. Saratoga and Shen is really expensive for the pool. No wonder they were coming to us. And also, I just have a question about staffing. So when outside people come, do we have to provide staffing, or do they provide it?
Those are in that fee structure as well.
Okay.
And I think, we are working on some other, so there's other layers to this as far as the wants and the needs. So you want to utilize the field, and now you want the press box, you want all these other elements, the lights. Those things have to be embedded into this process as well.
I just had a question about groups that have historically used our facilities, because, of course, they may not have used them the last year and a half, but do we have a sense of how many of those groups, where they fall in the three categories, the 80%, the 50 to 79, or?
I think based on the conversations that we've had, and I'm fairly new, so in talking to Michael, who's the soccer, he said 100% of those young ladies are part of the district. It's been more of a hearsay. It's not something that's been captured, because we've never captured rosters to determine that. But then you hear the rumors. Like superintendent shared a lot. The coaches are sharing. They're telling on one another on who's doing what and what's. And again, it's not to eliminate the access and the opportunity. It's really to truly focus on our students and our community as a whole, to build our programs and really just to provide them access to things to do after school, whether it's sports or other things that we're looking to do as we build upon after-school programming.
Yeah.
Just one correction, they're actually playing their playoff games on our field, on our turf field, Saturday and Sunday, Belmont, Schenectady, right on the Schenectady High School turf field. So a big deal for them for their playoffs to be here. It's going to be pretty cool. So I thank you, Michaela, for texting me the correction.
And Schenectady Soccer Club, we know, is Schenectady, like, no question. I don't know what other clubs and programs are using our facilities and how those land, but Schenectady Soccer Club, yeah, that's Schenectady.
There's some
kids.
swimming groups and some other entities that we have to work with. But I think the goal is, like, hey, beautiful, they are. Just give us a roster, we'll validate and move on. And, I think we wanted to give you guys a process that would honor, I think, your commitment to the kids of the district and the community first. And that, I think, is what we've done. And if you're not, doesn't mean you can't use our facilities. It's just going to be, you're going to have a price that's competitive with or in alignment with neighboring communities. And actually, probably still a little better than some of the other ones, right?
It strikes me as a fairly rational and creative solution, so thank you all for working on that. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Dr. Cotto and our new Director of Athletics, Michaela, really led this effort, so thank you.
Triple M.
both of them. Triple M.
Thank
that's
Triple
right.
Well, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
And we have action on that at a later point. Now we'll move to the resolutions. We have our first resolution concerning student placements. So this resolution is approving the placement of certain special education pupils. I'll accept a motion to approve this resolution.
So moved, Erica.
Erica, second.
Second, Nolani?
Nolani? I feel like I should say thirdly at times, but is there any discussion concerning this? I note that the current beds data is on this sheet. You know, this carries then for the year as a sort of a reference point at the beginning of October, and then we note changes beyond that in each of the resolutions. So all those in favor of this resolution, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? And that motion carries. We have, I better get to it, a resolution approving consent items 8A1 to 8C2 concerning certain personnel actions. I'll accept the motion to approve these items.
So moved.
And second,
Second.
Prinsella. Any discussion? They
Just
are
wanna-
consent items, so technically there's
Yeah,
really
I
no
just wanted to
discussion.
say I was really excited to see mental health counselors on the list. which I thought
I'm
was
sorry, I
great.
didn't hear you.
Some mental health counselors, I was really excited to see those
Okay.
positions up there, so I just wanted to note that.
Thank you.
We're excited to have the candidates join us, because it's,
Excellent, excellent. All right, all those in favor of these resolutions, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And those motions carry. We have Resolution 8D, requiring a waiver of the 48-hour rule with regard to the appointment of a certain certificated employee for a probationary period. May I have a motion to approve the waiver?
So moved.
And second,
Second, Nolani?
Noelani? Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries. Then we have Resolution 8D, which has been given to you, appointing Daryl Redmond as Assistant Director of Fine Arts for a probationary period. I'll accept a motion to approve this resolution.
So moved.
Second, Bernice.
Noelani and Bernice. Any discussion? And all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None, and the motion carries. And we'd like to recognize Mr. Redmond. He's here. Daryl, why don't you come up and tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're coming from? I don't even know that.
surprise. You didn't know you were. It's okay. I just will say to the board, it's been some time that we did have at one point a supervisor, somewhat of the arts or coordinator, and so it's not been something that has existed in the last couple of years, so bringing this back was a priority for the district and for us, and as a former art teacher, I'm great to have someone to be able to work with our fine arts division, so go ahead, Darryl. You want to say a little bit about your background?
Certainly. I believe it's my 25th year as an educator. Spent 21 years in Plattsburgh, New York. 4 years over in Albany. Band director and all those positions. Bringing some experience with me from outside professional organizations in New York State School Music Association, being the primary one. So this is my first opportunity, and I want to thank Schenectady and the superintendent and the board for affording me this opportunity. I'm extremely excited and looking forward to the opportunity of working with the staff, the students, and the community, and doing everything that I can to continue to elevate the fine arts program in the city.
Wonderful. And based on comments I've heard, the staff is looking very much interested in working with you, having someone in that position.
Well, that's nice
And he's
to
a
hear.
musician as well. He's being modest, but he also still plays, right?
What do you play?
Percussion is my primary
Oh,
instrument.
percussion. Okay. Okay, good, good.
Thanks,
Well,
Daryl.
hopefully you'll get to do that soon, without these limitations.
Everything's starting to open up again. It's wonderful. Thank you very much.
Welcome to Schenectady.
Thank you and welcome,
Thank
Daryl.
you.
All right. We now have our business items. We have a resolution accepting the independent auditor's report that you heard about before for the year ended June 30th, 2021. I'll accept a motion to approve this resolution.
So moved.
Yep, second, Bernice.
Prinsella and Bernice. Good, they were at the meeting with me. Any discussion, any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. We have a resolution approving the agreement between the Schenectady City District and Michelle Siervo. I'll accept a motion to approve this resolution.
So moved, Erica.
Erica, second.
Second.
And any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. We have a resolution approving the agreement between Schenectady City School District and Veronica Herring. I'll accept a motion to approve this resolution.
So moved, Bernice.
Bernice, second.
Second.
Priscilla? Any discussion?
I have a question. It's not specifically about this resolution. It's about the assessments that these individuals are doing. Are parents notified of the pre-K assessment that's happening prior to it happening?
Lorinda may know that answer better than I do since it's in her house, but I think this is typically something historically that we've always done. I'm not sure if we give like a notice that it's in there, but it's usually something we do to help determine placement because pre-K heading into kindergarten, figure out, but I can look into that and get back to you.
Okay.
Actually, Lorinda, if you want to take a note, we can follow up. Thanks.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries. We have a resolution approving the agreement between Schenectady City School District and Javon D. Hunter, Ph.D. I'll accept a motion to approve this resolution.
So moved.
Nolani, second.
Second.
And any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries. We have a resolution accepting the donation of 5 tablets and laptops given by Vince Stein of Albany. I'll accept a motion to approve this resolution.
So moved, Bernice.
Bernice, second.
Jamaica.
Jamaica. Any discussion? Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. We have Resolution 9D requiring a waiver of the 48-hour rule with regard to the ratification of the seeker compliance for the high school pool dehumidification project. May I have a motion to approve that waiver?
So moved.
And second?
Second.
Kinsella? Any discussion?
Just that I
It's
don't
right here.
see it.
It was one of the ones that came in the,
It's
with the
a,
two
it's a
sheets.
walk-in,
on the
it's a
second.
two-sheet, yeah.
It's attached.
It's a separate, it was a separate one?
It's the second page.
Okay, maybe I just lost it in the pile.
It's
of
probably
papers.
buried in your pile of papers, that's what happens to mine, so.
Yeah, I don't have it.
Did you not get this?
Thank you for sharing.
It's the second page. Oh,
It's fine.
We can ask about this.
Yeah,
If we want to
Priscilla
pass the
shared.
waiver and go on to the motion, we can have some discussion about it then. May I have a motion, or I have the motion to approve the waiver. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Now we have Resolution 9D, ratifying the seeker compliance for the high school pool dehumidification project. I'll accept a motion to approve this resolution.
So moved.
And second?
Second, Erica.
Erica, and now, if there's any discussion concerning what this project is about and so on, I think it's appropriate to discuss it now.
Yeah, so this is just environmental quality, the humidity has to be there, some of the equipment needs to be, addressed to make sure we can keep it within code. It is a New York State type of requirement, so it is an area that we need to address. So, it says it's routine or
Right.
regular activities, so just wanted to clarify, it's not like a brand new, it didn't just break, but we do have to make sure our humidity is up to code in the pool area.
The humidity's there in January, I'll say that. With
It's
winter-
foggy, but it's
with
too
winter
foggy, is it not
outside,
foggy?
but it feels good then. All those in favor of this resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And that motion carries. And that concludes our resolutions for this evening, and it is in our community.
The community room there is brand new, like that building.
Yeah, yeah,
It's been a couple different things on Albany Street. That's the
Right.
street I grew up on. But also, I can't remember which event it is. There's another event at Sikkim coming up on the 23rd. It's something about food. I can't remember what it is right now. But also Sikkim, just like if we haven't said this before, they own farmland.
Yep.
And there are farm fresh foods that
Right
they
over at the
actually.
Vale.
There are a number of them. There are several farm properties that they have, and it's farm fresh food, and they work with lots of other community groups. There's healthcare that sits there when the pantry is open. The pantry is open Monday through Friday, except for on Tuesdays, from 9 to 11:30. And they do deliveries, as Anibal had mentioned, and look for ways to educate and engage with the community. Amari is absolutely wonderful, and he advocates for there to be quality food for those that need it, so that they're not getting.
They're doing
Other
a
things.
gleaning of apples at Riverview Orchards, I know for a fact, next Monday and Tuesday. I believe it probably is on their website. I think it's 2 o'clock on Monday and 10 a.m. on Tuesday. And anyone who is available to do gleaning of apples at the apple orchard for the benefit of Sikkim that day, those days, would be welcome, I'm sure. Riverview Orchards is across the river in Rexford.
And just one other point of clarity, there wasn't a resolution for the facility because you already have the policy in place. It charges us to develop the regulations and how the procedures will be. So I just want to make sure there's clarity here. And then also for our viewers who still may be on with us at 9 o'clock at night, that there isn't a resolution to approve it. The board already has set that parameters, and then we just develop it.
The fee schedule is like an addendum to the policy, so.
That's all I just wanted to clarify.
misspoke. I think I misspoke about that earlier. Okay, any other further comments? Hearing none, we will now ask for a motion to adjourn. We have no executive session this evening, so we are done by 9. So may I have a motion to adjourn, please?
Motion, second.
Jamaica, I heard about 6 seconds there.
Don't leave too quickly. We do have some gifts for you.
Oh, right.
And we need to have our picture
And we need to have a
taken.
group photo taken. So.
Because we haven't had one in about 2 years, so. Who was the second?
No, Princella was first, I was second.
Oh,
These two.
I'm sorry, I wrote
They
that
were racing
wrong.
each other.
Anibal, do you want this list?
Yes, I do. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone, and all those in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?